What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're here for my round 24 AFL tips and predictions, the final round of the home and away season. And you guys may or may not know, but if you can't already tell, I have been sick the last 4 days. If you watched the Saints v Cats vlog, you would have seen it pretty clearly in that game, and I just haven't felt good ever since. I have decided to push myself through this video, though I feel a little bit better to talk on the camera, but if I do seem a little bit flat, potentially it is because of that. Certainly haven't felt the greatest in the last 4 days, but we'll move on from that. And we'll quickly get through my round 23 tips to see how well I performed. Now, looking at round 23, it certainly wasn't the easiest round to tip, with myself getting a 6 out of 9 being in the top 21%. We'll go through them quickly. We went the Lions to beat the Pies in, I still don't know if it was an upset, because I think at the end of the day, the Lions ended up being favourites. Richmond to beat North Melbourne. Carlton just getting the job done over Gold Coast. The Giants just edging it over the Bombers, and I decided to change my tip last minute. I didn't think it went through, but it ended up going through. Some Kilda to get the job done against the Cats. Glad I did that. Far out. I'll talk more about this one later on. I might make my own separate video genuinely about this controversial ending, but Adelaide should have beaten the Swans in the last minute, but cost me a tip and possibly could cost the Saints a home final. On the Sunday, obviously didn't do as well. I tipped the Dogs, as everyone would have tipped the Dogs in the upset of the season. You can guarantee yourself that that's the upset of the season. And then Melbourne v Hawthorn. Yeah, looking back on it, not the greatest tip, but Hawthorn did have a competitive 3 quarters, so I don't know. The fact that I still tipped Hawthorn and got top 20% is not too bad, and then put Adelaide obviously beating Freo. And my big calls also, quickly go through them as well. In the Brisbane v Collingwood game, I said that the Lions would kick the final 2 goals of the game, and whilst I won by 4 goals, it was the Pies that kicked the last 2 goals of the game. In Richmond v North, I said that the Tigers would win any quarter by 4 or more goals, but in the last quarter, the most amount of points I won by was 20 points. So I was very close actually to getting that one right as well. I then got my first one correct in Gold Coast v Carlton. I said that the Suns would lead at half time. Giants v Essendon, I said that Whitfield and Kelly would both record 30 touches. And they actually both got it they both recorded exactly 30 touches. So technically, that is arguably my best ever big call I've ever done. Saints v Geelong, I said that the Saints would choke in the last quarter, being up by 3/4 time. Obviously, didn't happen. I'm really glad it didn't happen as well. Adelaide v Sydney, I said that Taylor Walker would kick a clutch last quarter goal. Now, I actually don't know if I can say I got this one right or not, because he kicked the last quarter goal, but it was sort of early on, but it did actually start sort of the momentum swing that the Crows had. So, do I give it to myself or do I not? I might just give it to myself because I'm sick. Can you just give it to me because I'm sick? I need to be let off the hook for at least 1 week in terms of the punishments. I'm going to give it to myself. It probably isn't right, but I'm giving it to myself. And the reason why I give it to myself is because I got the next 3 incorrect, which would have given me 3 regardless. Dogs v Eagles, the Jamara kicked 6, he only kicked the 1. Melbourne v Hawthorn, I said that both sides combined for 200. They only combined for 145, or 7, sorry. And Freo v Port, I said that the Dockers would lead for longer but lose. The Power led for longer, and the Dockers lost. Geordie got the most likes with 124. It wasn't even the greatest one. I have seen better. Order a full meal from Macca's and then go to a gym and start eating it in the gym. The thing is, I actually am capable of doing that, but I'm going to not do it because I'm going to claim that Walker one. Round 24 tips, and we'll start off with the Friday night game. Too bad this one's a bit of an irrelevant one, because the reason I'm saying that is because I'll be streaming this. I don't like streaming dead rubbers, and this is almost a dead rubber for both sides. Essendon particularly, because they can't make finals anymore. I know mathematically in a way they can. Essendon v Collingwood on the Friday night. Both sides not in the greatest form, particularly the Bombers, obviously losing on the weekend, and losing drastically, tragically. That they were embarrassing, arguably the worst performance by any side all year. If you count away the Eagles, then that would be the worst performance from any side this year, losing it by 126 points against the Giants. I mean, they really did look like witches hats at times. The fact that they were just so poor defensively and allowed players to just so much space in the forward 50 to allow someone like Jesse Hogan to kick 9, where he hasn't really been the same player as he used to be for quite a while, is pretty embarrassing for Essendon. So yeah, they're arguably the worst side in the comp. Well, not the worst, but like form-wise, they'd be bottom 4 right now, because they only just scraped wins against North and the Eagles. And Collingwood expectedly lost. I expected them to lose. Maybe others didn't, but the Lions had a bit more to play for that top 2 spot. And at Marvel Stadium, the Pies aren't as good. The Lions are quite a bit better, and it was sort of shown. They had a few injuries. And it's kind of a concern now for Collingwood, because sides that win the premiership almost always finish the season strong. It's been quite a while since a side finished the season poorly and still won a flag. So the Pies we just need to win this one and win this one convincingly for just a bit of confidence for them. And I think they can. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Essendon mount a challenge at the MCG to give a bit of a response to the members and fans. I'd like to be a close game. Unfortunately, the Bombers can't make finals, and I kind of wanted them to win last week, so this game meant a bit more. But I'm going to go the Bombers. No, not Bombers, sorry. The Pies to win it by 30 points. It should be a relatively easy win if they're good enough. And my big call is for Brodie Myercheck to score 5 more goals. Start off on the Saturday between North and the Suns at Blundstone. Another bit of a dead rubber. Does it mean more for Gold Coast or does it mean more for North? I almost feel like it means more for Gold Coast because I think the president came out and said that they wanted to get, I think, 10 wins or something like that. Like that, their goal was to equal the club's record with wins, and I think that might be 10. So this would make it the 10th win. I might be wrong, but I think they should get the job done against North Melbourne. Obviously, on the weekend, both sides recording losses. And, I mean, the Suns' form hasn't been great as of late, losing games you sort of expect them to lose, but sort of, again, in a way, not the worst losses, because they haven't really been smashed in too many games this year, the Suns. And they'd be disappointed with the way they finished against Carlton, but the Carlton, they stormed back really hard in that second quarter, but they really got off the blocks very early, the Suns, and I thought, yeah, Jesus, they're going to upset the Blues here. It wasn't the case, but almost a win for Gold Coast and North Melbourne, obviously. Another loss. 20 losses in a row. I will say one thing, though. I know it was Jack Siebel's, retirement game, sort of a way. It should have been a celebration game. It wasn't a celebration that night with what happened with the fight. Well, the attack. You can't call it a fight when it wasn't his fault. North could win this game at Blundstone, but I almost feel like they'd rather lose this game. A lot of North fans are actually kind of happy West Coast won. So now North finished bottom, and they'll probably get Harley Reid. So kind of in a way, I don't think North will be too concerned if they lose this game. I think Gold Coast have a bit more to play for, so I'm going the Suns. They normally play well against North as well. To win it by 34 points, and they'll kick 6 or more goals in any quarter, the Suns is my big call. Next up, the MCG, we've got Hawthorn and Freo. This will be a good game of footy, I reckon. A bit of an underrated one. Obviously a game that doesn't mean much for any side, because I don't actually think any of these two sides can move up any ladder positions. If anything, Freo, if they lose, could fall to 15th, bottom 4. But yeah, obviously it doesn't mean much. It's more just to finish off the season strongly for both sides and a bit of pride. Hawthorn, again, continuing with some decent form. They were pretty poor in that last quarter, but I thought they were pretty competitive for the first 3. Again, Finn McInnes had a good game, keeping Oliver to under 5 clearances. So Hawthorn weren't too bad, and they've got really strong signs for next year. I'm not too sure if the Dockers are that side that sort of confirmed to do much better next year. You would expect them to be in contention for the 8. But yeah, they've had a poor season overall with just a 9. They could get to 10 wins here. They probably should be expecting a win in a way, because they do play kind of well at the MCG, and Freo's form recently has been alright. Now, obviously for the retro round clash, they lost the game by 16 against Port. It started well. You could always tell after quarter time Port Adelaide were going to win. They were just the side that was superior and just managed to hold on throughout the remaining of the game. But I didn't think Freo were too terrible. They fought a bit of a challenge to only make it 16 points at home. I do think, though, Hawthorn have been in better form as of late and probably should get the win at the MCG. But I think it'll be a good game. I'm going Hawthorn by 14 points. My big call. No sides score over 75 points. Now, this game should be a pretty good one between the Lions and the Saints at the Gabba. Now, obviously, Brisbane's form at the Gabba has been impeccable all year, not dropping a single game, which is crazy, honestly, to think about. I think they're the only side to have not lost a game at home on the weekend, not playing home, but playing away to the side still considered maybe the best in the competition at Marvel Stadium. And yeah, Brisbane just were hot early. They were the better side from the get-go and always seemed to just be the superior side. Their forwards probably had their most consistent game, all 3 of them. Cameron, Rayner as well, Hipwood and Danaher, all their forwards were actually really good. They do probably want to fix up the defence because they haven't been a side known for their strong defence, but as long as they keep getting the wins and if they can get that home final, which they should if they win this game, for my sake, I hope they don't. I hope the Saints, as much as I don't expect us to win, just compete again. And I think it's a bit of a free hit for us because we've made finals now and we've got some good form for the last 5, playing some good footy. Probably our most consistent and most impressive 4-quarter performance last week against the Cats in a game where we dominated in all areas of the ground and probably should have won the game by more. I know that the Cats fans are sort of complaining about the free kicks, but most of them in a way were there. I don't know. I don't think the free kicks really had anything to do with the result. St Kilda, deserving of a final spot. I don't really care what the people in the comments say. A bit of a free hit here, and I'm actually kind of not confident we'll win, but confident we'll go into this game playing some really good footy. It won't be a high-scoring game because Saints are a very good defensive side, so I'm actually going to be shocked if Brisbane score over 100. That's sort of the mindset leading into this one, and I will be at the game unless I'm still sick terribly in the next 3 days. But I can't really tip St Kilda in this one as much as I want us to. I just think Brisbane at home, they haven't lost a game there, and they've got a lot to play for. If they lose this game, you can say goodbye to top 2 and arguably premiership. So I want us to win to spoil that party, but probably won't happen. I'm going the Lions to win it by 19 points. My big call, the Saints are within 10 points in the last quarter. Now, this is arguably the biggest clash of the round. The Cats and the Dogs at GMHBA Stadium. The Bulldogs' finals chances, even though they lost to West Coast and Hawthorn the week before, remarkably still have a decent hope. I mean, it's just crazy how many free hits they're getting, the Dogs, with their fixture. Like, they just should have put some of the sides that they haven't away. The Dogs were just embarrassing against West Coast on the weekend. I thought that was a certainty. The certainty of the round, the certainty of the last 4 weeks. The Dogs at home, they're a really good side. That they put the bad sides away, and I just felt like this was that game. The Dogs know they needed to win. They probably get a percentage booster. And they were shocked early from the get-go, considering the first 3, and never really looked like they were getting back into the game. They had maybe a few patches where they got a bit on top. You thought, all right, the Dogs are maybe coming, won't get a convincing win, but they'll still get the job done. And I thought that until the last quarter, and I was just cheering on the Eagles. Wow. I'll talk more a bit on them in the next game, but I feel in a way bad for Bontempelli, the only player in a way that just carries the team, I feel, and actually cares. And I really think Beveridge should actually be sacked after that performance. I mean, he's just done not enough with the list that the Dogs have. But they're coming up against a Cats outfit who did lose poorly on the week and probably had their worst game all year. They look slow, they look sluggish. They look like, in a way, the game, in a way, has passed them because, well, this game means nothing for Geelong now. They lost it against the Saints to end their finals chances for the first time since 2015 and for the second time since 2005, which is a mind-blowing stat when you think about it. But also, in a way, the Cats, they're not really taking this game very seriously. They know it means nothing. They're resting a lot of key players, which is why this is such an even game. I feel Cameron and Hawkins both rested, although the fact it is at GMHBA Stadium still makes me want to lean on to the Cats, the fact that the Dogs haven't beaten them there since 2003. And the Bulldogs just haven't played good enough footy for me to trust them. I know this is a game where they'll still probably have the motivation, considering a final spot's up for grabs. But I'm going to go the Cats to win this one by 10 in a good game of footy. My big call, the Dogs score 5 or more behind than goals. Next up, we've got West Coast taking on Adelaide at Optus Stadium. Now, the Eagles are only $5. Certainly, the Eagles, you could argue they have stepped up the performances in the last 4 or 5 weeks. The game last week against Freo was an outlier. I don't know how they lost that by 100. I really don't. How do you lose at home against Freo by 100 and then beat the Dogs at home away the next week? It baffles my mind. But West Coast were phenomenal the way that they played that game on the weekend. They did, to be fair, have one of their best lists they've had all year, and they're getting a bit more continuity in the way that their list is functioning. But yeah, it was just an impressive performance all round. Tim Kelly was awesome with 5 goal assists and 30 plus touches. Jeremy McGovern down back, heroic, probably part of the reason why they won as well. And obviously down forward, the former Sainer and Jamie Cripps kicking 5 goals. I mean, yeah, he was, in a way, the match winner. And Oscar Allen, you can't take away his performance as well. I thought he was really good. I don't think West Coast will win this game. I think Adelaide should still be in finals contention. They should be 9th on the ladder, honestly, with the result that panned out last week, which is just, again, really disappointing for Adelaide. So obviously I'm annoyed that the Crows didn't get the win. They deserved the win. But then again, you could almost say, well, Adelaide were pretty bad for the first 3 quarters. They allowed Sydney to do whatever they wanted to, particularly in that first half. So you could argue, well, Adelaide were the reason they got themselves into that position, but still, they were unlucky not to win that game. I think they should respond back pretty strongly. I don't think West Coast would be too poor, but I think Adelaide are just really high-scoring side. They'll be really annoyed from last week's game, and they want to make amends for it. So I'm going Adelaide to win it by 46 points. My big call. The Crows kick 6 or more goals consecutively. Now, the Sunday games, whilst not as significant as once thought, it's still pretty significant, I feel. And we start off with the least significant game by far between Port Adelaide and Richmond. 12:30 p.m. and 12 o'clock local time at the Adelaide Oval. That's probably I have to say, that's the earliest local time game ever scheduled. But I do respect the fact that they've gotten every game on a standalone time slot, so you can actually watch every game in their entirety. I think it's a good idea for it to be round 24, build up the suspense. Port now on the back of 2 wins in a row, starting to find a little bit of good form heading into finals. And whilst it probably won't mean as much for them, considering that Brisbane should win, but if they don't win again, this is for a top 2 spot. But if Brisbane win, which you'd expect, they can't really move down a spot or up a spot at all on the ladder. So it doesn't mean as much for Port Adelaide, but I feel like, again, for Port, they want to finish off the season really strongly. So, don't take this game as lightly. I really do feel like for sides that want to challenge for flags, You just got to finish off the season really well. And I thought they were pretty good against Fremantle. They were challenged, but they just, grind out a pretty good win. And Richmond, I think their season sort of ends last week in a way. I don't think this game means as much because their two heroes in Riewoldt and Cochin won't be playing. I doubt too many Tigers fans will be bothered making the trip to Adelaide as well either. So I just don't think the Tigers care too much about this game. They'd want to finish off the season well in a way, but again, they've sort of checked out knowing that their season's gone and it's a bit of a relevant game for them, and I don't think they'll compete. I don't think this will be a game where Richmond will have a good game of footy because lately Richmond have been poor in a lot of their performances, and Port might not have as much to play for, but they'll still want to get a good win at home, and I think this will be a smashing, and Port will win it by 53 points. My big call, they scored 20 or more goals during the game. Now this game is probably the one I'm looking forward to most if I take away the Saints one because it does have a lot of ramifications for a couple of sides. Sydney take on the D's at the SCG. Now, obviously, the Swans are locked into the 8. The D's locked into the 4, which kind of annoys me because I'll actually be at this game for those wondering. But why there are a lot of ramifications for a couple sides is if Sydney win this game, they'll lock in a home final and it'll most likely be against St Kilda. And the issue that I have with that is purely the fact that I don't want to go away again. I've spent too much money on away trips, and during the finals, the flights and the accommodation, everything's just so much more expensive. So I really do hope that the Swans don't win this game, because if they don't win this game, given if we lose, then we do play a home final and don't have to waste as much money. But again, Melbourne, in a way, probably don't have as much to play for as well, because I just don't think that top 2 spot will be up for grabs. So they might not take this match as seriously, and Sydney will probably take it a bit more seriously, given, I know Buddy won't be playing, but it's a bit of a Buddy farewell game. It's at the SCG, a home game as well, and also Sydney will want to play for a home final. Melbourne could rest players. Purely out of hope for St Kilda's sake, we're going to back in the D's. I think it'll be a very good game. Melbourne to win it by 5, with there being 10 or more lead changes. That'll make me really nervous throughout the game. Last game, really late time slot, 6:10 PM at Marvel Stadium. This game could either mean not much or mean a lot, and it all depends on whether the Dogs or the Cats win on the weekend. And I actually kind of want the Dogs to win, so it's a bit of a close matchup, or just a matchup that means a whole lot more, because it just makes for the final round of the season so much more exciting. Carlton taking on the Giants at Marvel Stadium. The Blues have now recorded 9 wins in a row, and probably should make it 10 here against the Giants at home as well. I will say one thing though, they were extremely disappointing in that first quarter against Gold Coast, and if they continue to play poor first quarters like that, expecting to just get on a roll early, then they're probably not going to be able to come back the same way they did against Gold Coast, against the better sides come final series. So that's just one thing that the Blues might want to fix up on, or just, take notice of. But other than that, I don't think they should be too concerned, because the Blues are probably one of the informed sides of the comp. I mean, when it comes to the power rankings, they're a top 4 side. I think they're probably better than Port Adelaide right now form-wise. So, yeah, Carlton are going really well at the moment, and the Giants also are going very well as well. Well, what a game that they had against Essendon. I don't think anyone can really believe what they just witnessed on the weekend. A 126-point win against an Essendon side that right now might have checked out. I don't know what the hell's up with them, but yeah, the Giants, if they want to get to the final spot, that'll give them a really good amount of confidence. Hogan kicking 9. Heaps of plays, as I mentioned before, recording over 30 touches, including Tom Green. Look, if I was a Giants fan, I'd be annoyed with the Adelaide result, and I'd be annoyed with the fact that the Cats are resting so many players to give the Dogs such a good chance of winning the game. If the Dogs win, this game could be so much more significant for the Giants, and if that is the case, it could change a lot of things, to be honest with you. I still think, regardless, Carlton, with the form they've been in, 9 wins in a row, I just don't think they'll drop this one. I think they'll go 10 in a row to finish off the year at home. But we don't know what might happen. This will be, I think, a close game as well. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to tip the Blues, given I think the Cats will win as well, so it won't mean as much for the Giants. By 14 points, a big call. Charlie Kerner gets 80 goals for the year to kick 5 or more in this game. Now, reviewing my tips real quick, I went the Pies, the Suns, the Hawks, the Lions, the Cats, the Crows, the Power, the D's, and the Blues. Honestly, not too many upsets this round. I can't really be too asked to go for too many upsets or any risky tips. Now, round 23, obviously didn't see anyone scoring 9, because no one in their right mind would have tipped West Coast, but the people that got 8, I will still give a shout out to. Top score was 8 with a march of 12, and that was Ali Cat 86, followed by El Kawada, Cooper Stapleton, MD Monkey, Alex Stack, Jaden Brayshaw, Charlie Dougal, and a Toasty, not a single name I've heard of, and we go total score. And it's Saskatoon with 146. Might be the first time this person's in the lead. Oscar, Pasindu, Matt R, Azalan, Angus, Jack Biddle, Elm the King, Tex-Mess, and Shelv. As well as Shannon Humphreys. You've got to be kidding me that Shannon is in the top 10 just about. I actually cannot believe that. What in the world? instead of doing in that top 10. Obviously, as you can tell, probably for the whole video, I have felt a little bit flat. I've been sick the last 4 days, for goodness sakes, and we're also super close to 30k subs. We only need a good 16 to go from the point of me recording this, so if you guys haven't subscribed yet, it'd be awesome if you could, because, you know, once we hit 30k, then I might start releasing merch in the finals. You know, things will get excited then. So until then, though, I'll see you guys very soon in my next video, and yeah, cheers for watching, guys. See you soon.